100% made in America. That's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to get back to be doing. Everything needs to be made here in America for Americans. Americans couldn't afford it. Plain and simple. We hear a lot of people. Do I agree that we need to make our own stuff here in America? Yes, I do. But the sad fact about it is, vast majority of Americans would not be able to afford it. The perfect example, how everybody loves brand new cell phones, right? iPhones, Androids, whatever it is you use. That new cell phone comes out, it's $1,000, $2,000, right? Made with cheap labor and overseas parts. It's made here in America. That cell phone's going to cost you $10,000. Somebody's going to say, well, if we made it all here in America, we could drop the prices and everything else. No, we wouldn't. Another perfect example. Let's say you need a head of lettuce. You're making you a salad, right? All right, you go to the grocery store, that head of lettuce, now it's probably $3 or $4, but let's just say it's $2. You need to shop local. You go over to your local farmer market, that head of lettuce is $4. So do I pay $2 at the grocery store, or do I pay $4 at my local farmer market, right? Some people are in a position where they can't afford to pay that $4 at the farmer's market. They have to buy the $2 stuff. Look at it. Most of your fruits and vegetables in America are imported, right? It's cheaper to import it to our country than to sell what we grow here in our country to our citizens. Why? Because the pay scale, plain and simple, the pay scale. You know, everybody will, your shoes, if you own Nikes or you own this, you know, you're paying slave labor over there. If those shoes were made here in America, I don't even know how much a pair of Nikes is anymore. I don't keep up with it, but $100, let's just say they cost $100 right now. I'm sure they're more than that. But if they were made here in America, the cheapest shoes they sold would be $500, because Americans, they have set pay, right? We're not working below this pay scale, right? You got minimum wage. Our minimum wage is higher than what most countries pay these employees over there an hour that produce the vast majority of our stuff that we buy here in America. And people don't want to admit that, and they don't want to see it going on, you know, but it's true. You go to any store, 70 to 90% of it is made, honestly, in China. Plain and simple. The vast majority of it comes from China. Most stuff in your house comes from China. There's no way to make everything in America the way people are wanting it to do. We all have this mindset, well, everything used to be made here. You're right, it used to be, but things were cheaper. Now, it would be too expensive for the vast majority of people to afford American-made products. I mean, it's just the way it is. When the Chinese products, the Japanese products come into America, everybody was excited about it because it was cheaper. They could save money, right? Because everybody wants to save money. Well, now we've depended on them so long, you know, that we're starting to get into the position where, hey, we need to keep our stuff here and make it here. Now, in my area, we've seen this with the NAFTA agreement in the 90s with Clinton. I've told this story before on my channel. My mom, she worked in a sock mill until it closed. Well, when NAFTA come in, it messed everything up, and the sock mill went out of business. I mean, the area right off the mountain here from me is known as the sock capital of the world. That was the name of it. And now, there's not hardly any sock mills left. You might have some small ones or something like that still going, but the great big ones are gone. NAFTA come in and destroyed that. They destroyed it because it was cheaper to make it over there, right? Same thing with food and everything else. Everybody says shop local, support local. The sad fact about it is, the reason more people do not shop local or support local businesses, they can't afford it. I mean, it's just the way it is. If they can go to, I know some of you are going to say China Mart, but if they go to Walmart and they can get something for $5 and they go shop local and that same thing's $7 to $10, most people now are in the position where they can't afford that extra $2. You see it all the time when you go to the grocery store, you buy your groceries. You're coming out with less and less and less. Not only are you coming out with less products, you're coming out with less quantity or in your product. There's less stuff in your product, right? Like peanut butter, things like that. They're doing all kind of stuff to do shrinkflation now. A lot of people, most people see it, but a lot of people don't understand it. So every time somebody screams, we need to get back to making everything in America, what are we going to raise the pay scale to to get everybody to be able to afford all of our products here in America. And by raising the pay scale, you need to understand those products are going to go up. We've discussed this over and over and over on this channel about how a company has a set profit margin. If they have to cut into their profit margin to pay more, pay their employees more, or to pay more for products they're bringing in to sell to you, they're going to raise the price of the product. They're not going to drop below their profit lines. Plain and simple. You have to excuse me, I'm a little stuffy right now, but guys, Made in America sounds great, doesn't it? We need to make everything here. We need to support our own here. We need to do everything here. But the sad fact is, if it was made here, vast majority of people could not afford the products. They couldn't. We already have people starving and going without with the imported products at somewhat cheap rates. Now, don't get me wrong, before the pandemic, things were much, much cheaper. I tell everybody, you want to see a true inflation, look at the Dollar Tree. Everything used to be $1, now it's $1.25. 25% inflation, right? They tell you 3 or 4. Guys, the prices, the way they're going, and the pay scale staying down here, prices here, pay down here even lower, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. Your haves and have-nots, it's just going to keep spreading further and further apart. I've told you before, we do not have a middle class anymore. We don't have it. You have the rich, the working poor, and the destitute. That's what you have. The working poor is the middle class. You're pushing paycheck to paycheck just to get by. You're having to say, well, this week I can't afford to buy a loaf of bread, or I can't afford to buy a gallon of milk, right? I need to take that money and put it in my gas to go to work. It's not getting better. People think this election, as soon as it happens, prices are going to drop back down. We're going to get back to pre-pandemic things, you know. Number one, with the gas prices, the way they fluctuate, we've all seen it. They're not going to come back down to pre-pandemic prices. They're just not going to do it. Your groceries, they're not going to come back down either. They may drop a little bit, but they're never going to get back down to pre-pandemic. Why? Because they know people will pay the price. Once a company knows, hey, if we go this high, people back off from buying, right? But if we go this high, we lose some people, but with the prices that we have raised, it covers the people we lose. Companies know that. So this is the new normal. We're going to be paying ridiculous prices for everything. And what do I consider a ridiculous price? Just to give you a heads up, let's say you want a loaf of bread and that loaf of bread is $2. Some of you are going to remember back when a loaf of bread was probably 10 cents, but over $1 to me is a ridiculous price for a loaf of bread. People are going to say supply and demand, that's why it's up. No, it's not. It's greed. It's simple greed. You know, because I've told you before, the only way to get the prices down, and we're not in a position to do it in the world, nobody is. Nobody's in a position to do this, where the whole country says we ain't buying nothing for 90 days. That would get prices back down, but it's not ever going to happen. So, Made in America, make America great again, right? Now, to make it clear, I support Trump, but I'm also not naive enough to think that man is going to come in the office and within a month or two, we're going to sit back and be like, I'm glad that Biden stuff's over. Look at the prices. They're back to what they was. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. Get that out of your mind. The prices are here to stay, and they're only going to keep going up. It is not feasibly possible to make everything in America and the American citizen being able to afford the products made in America. It's not possible anymore. It is not possible. I don't know how we fix it. I don't know how we go back to where it is, but unfortunately, and another thing, all you people that call Walmart China Mart, every store, the vast majority of the stores, I should say, in the United States are stocked with Chinese goods. Your Lowe's, your Home Depot, your dollar stores, your Dollar Tree, you know, your Targets, all Menards, and wherever you're shopping, the vast majority of the products in it is from China. So you need to call every store China Mart. So, but anyways, let me know your thoughts on this. A little long video, 9 minutes, sorry about that. But keep your head on a swivel, be aware of your surroundings at all times, protect yourself and your family at all times. At that moment, you're the only person that can do it. Stay safe, keep prepping. It's going to cost you more money. Every day you put off prepping, it's going to cost you more money, and the material that you may need might not be there. Stay safe.